Hey there, Knicks fans. It's playoff time, and that means we're gearing up with the freshest hats and swag from Fanatics. We're buying our merch with Fan Cash since we bet with Fanatics Sportsbook, where you earn Fan Cash on your bets. Download the Fanatics Sportsbook app and start earning Fan Cash today. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Connecticut residents call 888-789-7777. Massachusetts residents call 800-327-5050. New York residents call 877-8-HOPE-NY. Maryland residents visit mdgamblinghelp.org. Welcome to the Knicks Film School Postgame Show presented by Fanatics Sportsbook. I am Jonathan Macri. I am here with DJ Zullo to talk about a win that has been a season in the making, as I'm being told might not be on. Of course it's not. It's on.
Hold on.
On now.
One of the more important post-game shows that this brand is ever going to do. And of course, that's how it starts.
I just turned it on. I had it on. It's for some reason it turned off.
Hold on. Let's reset. John, pretend the intro ended now.
Welcome to the Knicks Film School Postgame Show presented by Fanatics Sportsbook. I'm Jonathan Macri here with DJ Zullo. Did I get it right this time? Okay. Yeah, we are here to talk about a win that was in many ways it was a playoffs in the making, it was a season in the making, and in a lot of ways it was a quarter century in the making. A massive display of guts, determination, and perhaps most importantly for this particular team, execution. Not something that we could say the Knicks have done from opening tip to closing bell very often this season, regardless of the opponent. And absent a bit of a rough start out of the gate, they certainly did it tonight with what was unquestionably their best effort of the season. It is the effort that we have been waiting. Again, 91 games coming into tonight. We've been waiting all that time for. And I can't wait for DJ Zullo to wax poetic about what this night means to him and what he saw that allowed the Knicks to do what they did. But I would be remiss to start anywhere other than with Jason Tatum. With 3 minutes and 3 seconds left to go in this game, OG Anunoby makes his biggest defensive play of the night. Steals the ball, goes coast to coast for a dunk, puts the Knicks up 9 points, 113-104. Knicks had all the momentum in the world. It looked like the result was going to be what the result was anyway. Meanwhile, though, Jason Tatum falls down in a heap with what certainly appeared to be a non-contact injury. Could not put any weight on the leg as he left, and we saw a video of him with his head in his hands on a wheelchair exiting to the Celtics locker room. This is going to be a party tonight. This is going to be all kinds of exuberance and jubilation and praise for a team that damn well deserves it. But there is something about it now that is just, if you're a basketball fan, if you love sports, and if you love great competition, to have that injury happen on a night where two of the absolute greats of our game went toe-to-toe for 4 quarters, and we were saying it as on the watch-along, Knicks might have been up by 20. If it wasn't for Tatum's heroics. That's how well they played. And that's how important what Tatum did was to his team. And to see him go down, and I don't need to say anything because everybody saw the play. I don't need to say anything. But I just want to give a shout out to Jason Tatum. He's a fantastic ambassador to the sport of basketball. He's one of the best players in the game. And I've been watching the sport for this team, rooting for this team for over 30 years. I could count the amount of guys on one hand that terrify me in a playoff series or just in a big game as much as that dude really strikes fear into your heart when he has the ball. So, look, we hope for a speed. I mean, as speedy a recovery as possible. And I just wanted to start there. DJ, why don't you take it away?
Yeah, I mean, listen, it took the air out of the room. It's taken the air out of this show for a moment, and we'll work to get it back because I think this fan base deserves the celebration that you mentioned, and we will celebrate tonight. But it is important to start with Tatum because we are all thinking ankle, right? We were all when they went to break. He twisted his right ankle. Maybe he'll miss a possession, or maybe they'll knock him out for the game. And then when we saw the replay, we all kind of knew what had likely happened. And listen, he had 42 points on the night. I'm sure a couple baskets were clean, easy looks. I thought his shot making was at a level that it seemed like the Knicks just weren't going to be able to do enough to deter his night. And we've seen him have nights like this where it really doesn't matter what the defense is bringing to him. He's able to just figure out a way from three, from mid-range to get to that 40, maybe 50 point plateau. That's the type of offensive player he is. It's just, we're human. It was a real human moment to see him there. And you saw his reaction, both on the floor and then when he was being wheeled back to the locker room on a wheelchair, head in his hands, and just, he knew that it was bad. And listen, I know the Knicks were up 9. They had taken control of the game. I think they would have won the game regardless of what the injury was, and they're up 3-1 in the series. But it does sort of put a dark cloud over the festivities for a moment here, and you just doesn't matter how competitive you are as a player, specifically, or even as a fan, how much you root for your team. You don't want to see a player go down in that way, especially one that, as you said, couldn't be a nicer guy, couldn't be a better ambassador, as you mentioned, for this league. And listen, we've seen injuries like this. It's not just a playoff thing. This is a career, it's a bad one. And we hope for the best. And, maybe it's not as bad as it seems right now, but you just never want to see that. It's part of the game, and it's the unfortunate. We saw the Knicks last year, just one player after the next go down. Maybe not as severe as this, but we saw it. The Knicks were a mash unit by the end of the playoffs last year. It's a brutal way to see a guy go down, but we will make sure that we give proper time and respect to a Knicks team who I think played the best second half I've seen a Knicks team play in decades. It was that good. And, once we wrap up what is a deserved sort of acknowledgement of the moment here, which is the Jason Tatum injury, we will get to that.
And let's get to it right now.
Yeah.
Let's get to it right now. And listen, hearts go out to Jason Tatum.
Mm-hmm.
Fuck Boston all the way, because the amount of, there's arrogance. There's arrogance in sports, obviously. And then there is whatever level certain, and it's not all Boston fans, to be clear, but some folks in the NBA media sphere, the level of dismissiveness that was given to this basketball team, this Knicks team, it's been louder after game 3, but a lot of it was there even after game 2. And look, as we are going to talk about, and as we are already talked about a little bit, I get it. I get it, because we have been waiting 91 games for this team to put together a complete basketball game. But what those wins in game 1 and game 2 should have shown everybody, as well as, by the way, every single win in the Detroit series. Game 1 with the run, Game 3, Game 4, and obviously Game 6. This team has something. Again, have they been great with prosperity? No. Have they made the most of their talent? Abso-fucking-lutely not. And we have been screaming about it almost since opening night. You don't scream a lot, DJ. I scream sometimes. We've been talking about it since opening night. So I get a level of skepticism. I get a level of confidence that borders on arrogance. But to make it out like those 2 basketball games didn't happen or came down purely to, they just had the 2 worst shooting performances that they're ever going to have as a team, and that's all there is to it. You can't do that. Just like if I came on here and I made fun of of Tatum's injury or made light of it, that's disrespectful to the game of basketball, and certainly it's disrespectful to this opponent, who, for all of their imperfections, never lost belief in themselves and never lost belief in each other. And tonight, they got down by as many as 14 points. There were moments where this game looked like it was teetering on the edge. And I know we said it in the playback. You can't let another game go with get up to a 20-point deficit. You just can't do it. They're like, you can only go back to that well so many times. Could not do it tonight. And every time it was on the brink. And we're going to talk about the heroes of this game. And boy, were there heroes. Somebody made a play. Somebody made a shot. Somebody made a rotation. Somebody made a stop. Somebody made a move. And to say that they answered the bell time and time and time again, and then all we ever wanted, just give us a chance to get into that clutch zone, get into that clutch area, those last 5, 6, 7 minutes of the game with a chance. And the one thing, and then I will not mention the Tatum injury again, but that must be acknowledged, is that the Knicks asserted themselves in the way that they did and started to run away with this basketball game long before that injury happened. Does it mean that things couldn't have gone differently had it not happened? Of course not. Crazier things have happened. Crazy things happen in basketball all the time. We've seen them in this playoffs. Crazy things happen. But they asserted themselves and they took control of this game in a way that they have never, as currently assembled, taken control of a basketball game and exerted their will against a team that we have acknowledged for weeks, for months, has more talent than them. And it didn't matter tonight. They still went out there and won.
Second half, 70 Knicks, 51 Boston. And we've been waiting. While we've acknowledged the Knicks defense has largely, other than most of Game 3, but for Games 1 and Games 2 specifically, the Knicks defense has really brought it in this series. But the Knicks half-court offense lagged behind. And the question I had coming into Game 4 was like, how were they going to be able to generate a flow offensively to the point where you can sustain offense? Well, they sustained offense in the second half to the point of scoring 70. I mean, how about this? A 76 field goal percentage on 2-pointers in the second half.
I was about to say, it wasn't even the 3. It'd be one thing if you score 70 points against the Boston Celtics, what is your mind immediately going to assume? Oh,
a hot shooting night from 3. Yeah.
Hot shooting night. Second half, 5 of 12 from deep. That's it. And by the way, or maybe the refs were just blowing the whistle every time. No, 5 of 8 from the line. That's it.
It was Mikal Bridges getting into the mid-range. It was Jaylen Brunson sometimes getting all the way to the rim. It was Karl-Anthony Towns continuing to score efficiently despite an offensive ecosystem that is not taking advantage of his full skill set. But to have a 115 offensive rating for the entire game in the half court, when this team was mired in the 80s, to just flip the switch in that way, to me was, I thought, borderline stunning. And it felt like watching the third quarter, I kept waiting for the other shoe to drop. And maybe that was me being the pessimistic Knicks fan that have seen a lot of games and a lot of like stretches where they play well, but then it peters off. It never did. No. This offense continued. Mikal Bridges Brunson got it going, and then Bridges sort of took the baton and really got the Knicks into the striking distance to take the lead. And then Brunson took us home. Towns a big part of that. Anunoby, Josh Hart, when he was in the game, a big factor and some of those stretches. A complete team effort, and not to be lost on it. I thought Mitchell Robinson's ability to spring Jaylen Brunson. Look, Jaylen Brunson deserves like a 2-hour post game just to talk about him, and we will. But I do want to make sure I don't forget to note Mitchell Robinson's ability to spring Brunson and allow him to have some separation. Which, if you watch the first 3 games, Josh Hart was the primary screener for Brunson, and the Celtics defenders, who are big and they're strong and they're mean, were going through hard time and time again, and Brunson was not able to generate that separation. Well, that changed completely in the second half. Specifically, Brunson was dominant. Mitchell Robinson, the longest tenured Knick, who's been minute for minute the best Knick in the series, was up to the task and was able to spring Brunson enough to get him going.
Jaylen Brunson is going to, whenever he leaves this franchise, and I hope it's not for a very, very long time, he's going to leave the franchise as a member of the Mount Rushmore. It's going to be Reed, it's going to be Frazier, it's going to be Ewing, and it's going to be Brunson. And I don't believe that it's going to be remotely controversial. And when we are talking about his Mount Rushmore resume, I have a funny feeling that we're going to look back on this night and refer back to this game as something that figures prominently and is very high on the list, because I think you can make the argument, and I'm not even sure it's that difficult of an argument to make, that this was his greatest night as a Knick. So we are talking about the most important player in the franchise over the last 25 years, going to be one of the greatest Knicks of all time, if he isn't already, having perhaps his best night as a Knick. And I want to start the conversation with Mitchell Robinson. Because guess what, Deej? If Mitchell Robinson doesn't come in and bring the effort and energy, and it looked like he was out there with a jetpack on in the first half, flying around defensively, giving the Knicks second opportunities. I think he finished this game with 5 offensive rebounds. I'm fairly certain every single one of those was in the first half, or at least 4 of them were in the first half. I'm pretty sure. I think all 5 might have been.
He had 4 in the first half.
4 in the first half, so 1 in the second half. Again, a lot of that first half was danger zone. It felt you felt it. You clenched, and you're like, "Oh my God, they are hanging on by a thread." And early on, shocker, the Knicks starting unit did find a lot of footing in the third quarter, but they never start off well in these games, and they didn't start well off in this game. We were sitting around waiting. Okay, when's Mitch going to come? When's Mitch going to come in? When's Mitch going to come in? And Mitch came in, and he did not disappoint. He will be the unheralded hero of this game because of what Brunson did, because of what Bridges did. OG Anunoby quietly getting up to 20 points on 14 shots, ended up making 4 of 8 from 3. I think he made most of those in the second half. And then obviously Karl-Anthony Towns, a workmanlike 23 points on 15 shots. What Mitchell Robinson contributed to this game just cannot get lost in the shuffle. It feels only appropriate to talk about him first, especially since he might have been the player of the game in game 2. And as you said, is he pound for pound or minute for minute the best player in the series? It's a conversation, man. It's a conversation.
Yeah, and we didn't get the hack of Mitch. That was not part of the strategy for the Celtics. Right? It just kind of like dissolved into nothing. We'll be curious to see. I'm sure Mazzulla will be asked about that post game. So Mark, maybe if there's any information on why he decided not to go that route, be curious. But yeah, he was able to spring Brunson, but you can set the screen. That's hugely important. He's a big body. You can give him the separation, but the guy's got to make the shots, right? In the second half numbers for Jaylen Brunson, we should
you go through them, please?
We should notate them because the man scored 26 points in the second half against that Boston defense with Derek White and Drew Holiday and Porzingis and Cornette in the paint waiting for him. 26 points on 17 shots. He went 7 of 12 from 2-point range, 3 of 5 from 3, plus 21, and was literally going back basket for basket with Jason Tatum for a large swath of that second half, and seemed like he was completely up for the task. A couple of makes at the rim, which usually isn't an area where Brunson is going to make a lot of his like primary offense, but baskets around Porzingis, quick layups on the left side of the rim. He had the complete bag going. The one going over his right shoulder on the left elbow, and he's usually much better going over his left shoulder as a left-hand shooter. He went over the right. I don't know if you remember the shot. It was almost like a Kobe-esque going over the opposite shoulder, fading away at the left elbow. It was one of those makes where you just know he's in a zone. He really has it going in this game when he's going to that deep of his bag. A legendary performance. And again, we talked about, and it was all over like Knicks Twitter, and is this the Jaylen Brunson masterclass game? And I was kind of skeptical of that based on what this defense does and what the Knicks offense doesn't.
Phone booth. Benji Ritholtz. Phone booth.
Correct. And Benji's completely correct. And listen, and he usually prospers in any spacing environment, but he was able to get a little more space in the second half based on maybe some lineup configurations, which we could talk about.
Well,
and
do you want to do it now?
Let's do it now. I mean, it's a huge piece of how the Knicks were able to get the lead and extend it.
We're all about the vibes right now, and I do want to acknowledge that like Josh Hart was in for the entire third quarter, and everything that we're talking about, this Brunson barrage, to quote Mike Breen, did start in the third quarter. So I don't want us to sit here and have some kind of revisionist history that like, oh, the Knicks offense didn't get going until the fourth quarter when Josh Hart was out of the game with 5 fouls. No, this thing, but did things loosen up? Like like, yes. What else is there to say? I don't know what else there is to say, Deej.
Yeah. And listen, I thought Hart really, it seemed like in the second half, especially like later in the third quarter, it did seem like Hart was starting to put his stamp on the game. So I don't know if it would have been completely different if it wasn't a lot of McBride and Robinson in that.
You felt we felt it watching. We felt the space.
You felt the space, and then you felt the defensive component of those two players in the game, and that's the two-way aspect of both of them. And it's you don't typically view Mitch as an offensive weapon, but in this series, it seems like he is with his screening, with his offensive rebounding, and the fact that he is his gravity in the dunkers, and he got a couple lobs that Towns got him on one and Brunson on another. So he was able to get the rolls to the basket and get finishes up high above the rim. So it seems like he's now providing offense impact coupled with what the defense is, and it's been borderline elite right now. He's rounded into form to be a true two-way center in a manner that I didn't think he had this level in him. He showed flashes of it 2 years ago or early part of last year specifically, but to do this in the playoffs against the Celtics, he's exceeded my expectations, and I've been pretty high on him. So shout out Mitch to just be a big piece of another Knick win against the Celtics. A phenomenal series so far for him.
I wrote it in the newsletter today in 42 minutes that going into tonight, that Jaylen Brunson and Mitchell Robinson were on the court together. The Knicks had a 124.1 offensive rating. That was the best offensive rating by a significant degree of any two players who had played any significant amount of minutes together. I'm trying to see if I can quickly scramble to get Robinson and Brunson offensive rating to Jesus Christ. So tonight, 17 minutes and 32 seconds of shared court time. That's going to be a 148.5 offensive rating for Jaylen Brunson and Mitchell Robinson's shared minutes together. Now, obviously, scrolling down this, shout out to Pivot Fade, all of these offensive ratings are in the 120s and 130s, but that's by far, again, the best number. Something is happening when those two were on the court. And by the way, the only one that's higher than that amongst lineups that played at least combos that played at least a dozen minutes together in 12 minutes and 17 seconds, Jaylen Brunson and Deuce McBride, 158.3. Knicks scored 38 points in the 12 minutes and 17 seconds that Jaylen Brunson and Deuce McBride shared the floor. Look, we've been seeing a lot of these numbers all year when Deuce is on the floor. Now you're adding Mitch, so you're adding the shooting. It's the shooting and it's the screening.
Yes,
and those are the two guys who are on the floor late. In terms of Brunson, I'll wait for an opportune super chat to do it. But like I'm just looking at my notes. At least 5, maybe 6 moments where Jason Tatum hit a shot that just felt massive.
Yeah.
And then Brunson would come down the other end and with an immediate response.
And shots in a different way, but almost in the same vein of shots. I'm sure if you're a Celtics fan, of just like taking your heart. I mentioned the one over the right shoulder, the baseline fade over Derek White on the right side. Just an incredible shot maker, and played, as you mentioned, maybe the game of his Knicks career. And I think if you weigh it against the competition, he had some amazing games in his first go around against the Cavs, not so much, but against Miami, and then we saw him against Philadelphia just have some monumental games. But this is a different level of defense, this Boston team, especially the on-ball defense. I mean, Kelly Oubre, solid player, but you're not Derek White, you're not Drew Holiday, and you're not Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown when they get switched on him. Like he's going against some of the elite on-ball defenders in the NBA. Maybe, I think, other than Oklahoma City, the best group of on-ball defenders in the NBA.
I think the defensive ceiling of this Boston team is higher than any team in the league except OKC and probably Houston. Yeah, I would go with those. Those would be the two.
That's completely reasonable. Needless to say, it's a incredible defense, and for the Knicks as a whole to score 121 points, and for Brunson to get to 39 is just incredible.
And we'll take this moment to acknowledge the Celtics played well tonight. Like, they played well, and their superstar gave them a superstar performance. You know, you want to look at, okay, Jaylen Brown, 7 of 16 for 20 points, not his best, but like they played well. They executed on defense. They did what they always do on offense. They generated great looks, and they hit almost all of them. Hello, Derek White. I felt like he didn't miss a 3 all night. He ended up 6 of 11 from deep, but still 23 points on 12 shots from Derek White. Like, that's incredible stuff. So you're doing all this with this team that you're playing, that everybody, again, was still picking to beat you in the series. And look, series not over yet. But you showed up with that performance. Let's go on to Mikal Bridges.
Yes.
Any doubts that existed about whether Bridges was going to be able to be a long-term part of this core? I think they're gone. What he went out there and did tonight, and like, you're going to, we could look at the shooting numbers and be like, 11 to 21 for 23 points. That's no. Everyone who watched this game knows 7 rebounds, some big ones. Thank
you for saying that. Huge rebounding night for him.
The rebound he got right after, it was 109-104. And it was right before, and then he followed that up with a mid-ranger on an assist from Jaylen Brunson to make it 111-104. Massive rebound there.
It was a long rebound around the free throw line.
It was.
Or the dotted line. It was like when he had to go out of his way to attack it and get it.
He had another massive rebound earlier in the fourth quarter when they were going back and forth, and the Celtics kept coming back to tie it. I think they may have even taken the lead once or twice. and the mid-range shot making throughout the entire fourth quarter. How many points did you say Bridges had in the fourth quarter? I think you said it before.
He went 5 of 6 from the field.
I mean, you can just stop right there.
I mean, 5 of 6 from the field in the fourth quarter, right? That's
5 of 6 from the field in the fourth quarter, and yet
he had 10 in the quarter
with the rebounds, with the points, with the middies, with the 4 steals in this game.
Early pickups on defense. Like he had some ball pressure possessions, just enough to slow them down. Yeah.
The ball pressure, the on-ball defense, the up, and yet the biggest freaking play of the game, arguably, you said it, an insane rotation on
Porzingis.
On Nate Porzingis, who was flying in for what should have been a completely uncontested look when, again, these teams were going back and forth in the fourth quarter. After that rotation, OG came down for the drive to make it 102-99. And then Tatum actually after that had the and one that should have been called a double dribble, but we won't harp on that. And then after that, the Knicks went on their merry way. One of the best rotations you'll ever see in a big game.
100%. And I know Porzingis is compromised. He dunks that, but the fact that Bridges met him before he was able to take off and stayed vertical, he didn't foul, which is we get on him sometimes with the lack of fouling because I think it sometimes represents the lack of aggression, the lack of physicality, but he's got a way about him and a great awareness of like when to use his length and just knowing when not to be so aggressive to where you're going to get a foul called on you, but to utilize what is a elite wingspan, and was able to force Porzingis into taking a contested layup. He missed it, and it was a huge bucket. I thought in general, the Knicks rotations were really good. If you isolate and take away the first 3
minutes.
Yeah. Or the first 3 minutes where the team just looked a little haphazard. They were having trouble getting matched up, but beyond that, it was a pristine defensive performance in a lot of ways, much better in terms of the communication. The switching was just like, we're going to switch on basically everything, including Brunson on Tatum in some occasions, but
they finally got it down.
They got it down.
There was the first 3 minutes, which were bad. And then there were moments during the first half, a moment here, a moment there where it's like, guys, come on, we gotta be locked in on this. Like where there was a little error, maybe a handful in total.
Yeah.
Most of them the Celtics made them pay for. In the second half, like 2-3 Celtic possessions where there was like, oh man, we were sitting there and be like, you got to get that right. That's got to be better. Like it was. You could count the number on one hand in the second half.
Yeah, that's how good it was. And Bridges was a huge component. Like I don't know, because we almost lost to Anunoby that was like a kind of a moment there to see him leave with a hamstring. Something.
And by the way, still played 40 minutes. Mikal Bridges 44 minutes plus 14 in the 4 minutes Mikal Bridges sat. The team managed to be outscored by 6 points.
Yeah, he's so key, and it felt like his ball pressure and the fact that he was picking up early and just applying a level of almost a defensive attitude in this game that physicality that I thought was important for this team. And it felt like he was a galvanizing force. And it didn't seem like Anunoby after the injury had his, he had a big steal late, but didn't necessarily have the same impact, maybe injury related, but it felt like Bridges on the wing was just everywhere. And you mentioned the rebounding. The Knicks they were cracked for offensive rebounds in the first half. I thought they cleaned that up for the most part in the second half. Bridges rebounding is a big part of that. And just the shot making, man. I mean,
you can't say enough about. I mean, like so often you don't have to shoot well to play well. Okay, like when you get down to this time of year, and they're like, hey, guess what, everybody? There's no secret formula. There's no magic wand. There's no lamp with a genie in it. Go ask the Denver fucking Nuggets, who scored 8 points in the first quarter against the Oklahoma City Thunder yesterday. Everybody is out there scrounging, scrapping, clawing. You got to make the shots. You got to make the shots.
And listen, maybe this was the calculus of this team. When you brought in Bridges, you're giving up, obviously, some volume 3-point shooting, but maybe they were like, listen, nut crunching time, when this team needs a bucket in the half court, this guy has an ability to get buckets when you need them most in ways that are not necessarily pretty, but they are, it's like he has an ability to get shots off that are just reasonable enough in terms of the kind of like what you expect from a field goal in that area. But he's got such great touch in that zone, and he doesn't, typically turn the ball over, and he's going to get the shot off because of his like high release point. And he's got this ability to do it. And once he gets it going, you've seen this a few games this year. Once he gets it going from that area, he's really tough to stop. A lot of those buckets against Derek White, like really tough, contested,
he was hunting them too,
and hunting them. And the Knicks went through him. They played through him, and we've seen that now a couple of times in this postseason. And it's a real advantage to have a third guy when, if Towns doesn't really have it going, or Brunson kind of needs a blow, or he doesn't have it going, to have another guy is really important. And a guy that can get shots in that intermediate area is critical. And he's showing his value on both ends of the floor. And tonight was just like, why you bring him in here? Because you need someone to sort of like take the baton for a 3-4 minute stretch, and he was able to do it in this game.
Speaking of making shots, OG Anunoby, 4 for 8 from 3 overall. In the second half of this basketball game, he was 5 of 6 from the field, 2 of 3 from beyond the arc. Again, you needed it. He had the looks, and he made the looks. And again, was it an OG masterclass on defense? No. Was he maybe a little bit compromised? Probably. He was a massive part of this win tonight as well.
Yep.
We kind of talked about Hart already. I thought Hart, like, they were, look, Hart did some really nice things tonight. Let's be very clear about that. And it's never all about what Hart does or does not do. It's about the impact, and so I don't want to, disparage his performance. Let's end with Deuce and Cat. Let's talk about Deuce. I don't know how much we actually have to say about Deuce other than that,
8 for his last 16 for 3.
Yeah, that might be all we need to say about him.
The shots come around, right? The spacing was always there, but now the shot making is he's starting to make shots, and it's now you get the full Deuce package, which it's a really good player.
Yeah, and he, we said it about quickly when he was here. Good things seem to happen with Deuce McBride's on the floor, and the numbers all year back that up. And not a coincidence that, along with Mitchell Robinson, Tom Thibodeau kept Deuce McBride on the floor for the majority of that fourth quarter, right down until pretty much the very end. Let's end with Cat. I have to laugh. Such an interesting player, man.
Fascinating.
Look, Simmons is not making many Knick fan friends these days, but I did think his pod about Cat with Lowe, was it last week? They did kind of nail it, where they're like, has there ever been a player quite like this in terms of his career? And he's just a really interesting player. And you look tonight at what he did. He was a big part of them winning the game. He was a big part of them winning the game. They needed his shot making in the second half. I thought his decision making in the second half was, other than the one, it was the second half, right? The turnover that almost gave Tibbs a heart attack.
I think it made it 72-58, if I'm not mistaken.
What's that?
It was. Did it make it 72-58? It was the one where Tatum intercepted it.
It was
lost his mind.
Bad Hart turn. Oh, the Hart turnover was not good either. Yeah. Oh yes, they're back to back. Yeah. Yes, it was that 72-58. Thank you. Sorry, it took me a second.
No, you're good.
So not all perfect, but I think for the only time other than Game 3 against Detroit, and for that magical 2 minutes of shot making against Detroit in Game 4, this is the first time I've watched Cat and been like, okay, I see it, I get it, I see it. You can be part of a championship winning team. Now, he was also off the floor for a big part of the fourth quarter, we should note. But while he was out there in the second half, he was a massive part of the Knicks' success. And you could tell he wants this so bad. You could tell he cares. That's the thing about Cat. Like, you feel bad getting on him about stuff because his heart's totally in the right place. He gives a shit. It's all the things that you want. It's just sometimes it can be frustrating. There were some times in the first half where it can be frustrating, but overall, a really nice night for Karl-Anthony Towns.
Yeah, and I'm just looking at 9 of 9 in the restricted area. So when he got into the restricted zone,
is that accurate?
9 of 9.
9 of 9 in this game
against Cornette, against Porzingis.
That's massive,
right? Against Horford, who has given him some trouble finishing at the rim. That is for a Knicks team that has not been, at least I haven't looked at the numbers, but it feels like the Knicks haven't been great in that area against the Celtics in the series.
That's my favorite stat of the night. No, if you look at some of their paint, look at the Knicks paint numbers from Game 3. It's like
brutal. Yeah, brutal stuff, man. Yeah. And so to go 9 of 9 from that zone is obviously massive. And then I love how simple the coverage was for him. It wasn't, all right, here's when we hedge. Here's when we switch. Here's when we drop. Here's when we play high. Cat, you're switching every single time. And listen, I know the numbers and the defensive matchups tomorrow when NBA posts them are going to be pretty bad because Tatum got him on a lot of those possessions. But how many times were the Celtics were the Knicks in rotation off that? Very rarely. And to Tatum's credit, he made so many tough shots, and Cat was the one standing in front of him. But Cat also contested, I thought, for the most part, really well, and prevented Jaylen Brown from really getting going, prevented Drew Holiday from getting going from 3. So I think the fact that the defensive scheme was so simple allowed Cat to just play and utilize his length and his size and his ability to guard in those areas and to force contested shots. So for Tibbs, and listen, maybe that's what the game plan was in Game 3 and Cat didn't execute it. Whatever the case is, game plan was simple. Cat made it simple. He executed it simply. And while the results weren't perfect, they were less damaging than they were in Game 3. And I think that is all you can ask. Can you be a part of a good defense by not being the source of where our problems are sort of stemming from? And I thought Cat, he sort of hit that mark. And the offense was huge in a way. And I keep talking about this. This offense is not giving him all these opportunities to be like the Cat that we've seen in previous years and maybe in previous months in the season. But he's able to figure out a way to grind out points.
He found some holes. He found some holes there in the second half.
He did. He got some drives. He also had the nice alley-oop to Mitch. So there's starting to develop maybe some chemistry there. Listen, not perfect, but he was a key cog in a win that put the Knicks up 3-1. And that's all you can ask for. And I think your point about him caring and trying to do the right thing, that's 100% right. And I thought the game plan and his performance kind of showed that tonight. I thought it was all like really good. And you get a really good Cat and Brunson and Mikal and OG's defense. Everybody. This is the recipe of a great team. And I haven't used the word great with the Knicks team not once this year, but I'm starting to see, and I'm not even ready to say that with like my chest, but I'm starting to see the outlines of a great basketball team. And it's only going to get to that level if Cat is this as a baseline. And we'll have to see if he can continue to put forth these efforts. But hell of a performance tonight, man. The Knicks needed it. They don't win the game without him. Those minutes that he was out there just giving them good offense and productive defense was huge. And he needs to continue it. But I love the performance today.
Well, this allows us to bring it all the way back around. Yeah, having talent, obviously, it helps you be a great team. Being well coached helps you be a great team. All those, the depth helps you be a great team. great teams have to have an ability to take punches. There's never been a great team that didn't have the ability to take a punch. And to your point about all of whatever the numbers are going to say about Cat's defense tomorrow not mattering, how many times throughout this entire game, after there was really strong defensive coverage for given who the personnel was, right?
Mm-hmm.
Cat, Brunson, who are sometimes better Nick defenders. We just said, tip your cap. Don't let it impact you.
We said that 10 or 12 times in that game.
I had to.
Honest to God.
And we, and look, when they were down by 10, 12, 14 points and teetering, we probably look like a bunch of ass clowns. Be like, that's okay. That's fine. Everything's okay. Hold on.
Right.
There's a lifeboat over here. Maybe I can get on that. Oh no, the cello player's getting on that one. No, everything's fine. No, but it does really speak to the mental toughness, because when you're seeing the shots go down over your head, we've never played at this level. I would imagine it has to be easy to fall back into some bad habits or to lose faith or any of those sorts of things. Cat never did on defense. None of them ever did. The team didn't. They never let go of the rope. Again, it's going to look weird to go back and look at this game as the Knicks winning, kind of going away, and think back to the first half. It was dicey.
Mm-hmm.
It was really dicey. And they stuck it out. And now, look, you got to win one more game. I don't know how to talk about the rest of the series without referencing Tatum, but it seems like you were going to be facing a Celtics team that is not at full strength. Look, I want to be very clear about this. Is this Celtics team without Jason Tatum capable of beating any team on any night? Yes, they are. They still have that much talent. They're still that good. There is a championship medal there. Talk about the Knicks medal that they've showed. There is a championship medal with the Knicks, or with the Celtics. Jaylen Brown, Finals MVP, Conference Finals MVP, All NBA level player, max player. Drew Holiday, future Hall of Famer. Derek White, inarguably one of the 40 best players in basketball, and that's maybe not even doing him full service. Horford, Porzingis, I know, is compromised, but he still exists and can be is someone to be reckoned with. The sixth man of the year, Peyton Pritchard. Sam Hauser was a game time decision tonight. I think he may be back. So this is not done. And, I don't know how many more games it's going to take or how many more games they're going to play. Two of the remaining games that could be on the schedule are in Boston, which, again, I know Boston doesn't always play well in Boston, but still. They got a chance here, Deej. They got a chance here. And you don't get many chances. It doesn't matter. I mean, unless you're KD and Steph together, and you teamed up to form a team that should have never been formed. You can't take any, and even then they got two, right? That's only got two. They couldn't even get the third. LeBron at the Heat. We thought they were going to get 7, 6, 5, whatever the hell it was. They got 2. These chances do not come often. And you're right there.
And listen, we talked all year about, this is the start of a 2, 3, maybe 4-year run of this group. And this was, trying to, is the theory of the case, is this going to work? And what do we have to do to maybe make this a championship team? But that's all out the window now. I mean, you're up 3-1 in the conference semis. And now, listen,
today,
I respect both teams in the other side of the bracket.
Oh,
I think both of them are excellent. One of them has been underrated for 2 years. So I'm not about to.
I'm not ready. I'm not bringing. I'm not even saying their name.
No, I'm
that's Michael Myers for me. Team.
Listen, they scare the hell out of me too. And we know we don't even have to go the whole we see the path right now. It's clear. And I thank you for saying that about this team having a chance that this group may never get. One as clear and as real as what they are seeing right now. They're up 3-1 against the Boston Celtics. It's right there for them. And listen, if you would have told me a month ago that this team was going to be up 3-1,
oh my God,
against the Boston Celtics in this conference semifinals, I couldn't even fathom that reality. So to be sitting here with that reality really hasn't completely sunk in, and maybe it will tomorrow, or maybe it never will.
Well, maybe if they win the series, it'll sink in.
Maybe then I'll believe it. But they can't let this opportunity go. They can't. You have to. And I tweeted it after the third quarter, like finish. That was the best third quarter of the year. Now finish the game. Now you finish the series. You got to finish. And that's what it's all about right now. That's everything. It's right there. You finish it. And I have confidence they will.
I do too. Deej, I don't know how I would do. I don't know how I would do this without you.
Oh, what do we got?
Got something.
I'm gonna tell you about my town. I'm gonna tell you a big fat story, baby.
Hey, Macri!
It's all about my town.
Hey, Macri! Are you a cop? Are you a cop? Are you no fucking cop? DJ, are you still a cop?
Hold on, you gotta grab my head. What does he bash the head with? He bashes it with
Are you a cop?
Well, he has the cast on. That's right, and he bashes with the cast.
Listen. Shout out Jason Tatum. Thoughts and prayers, of course. You guys did a good job of being respectful. And it was weird how we were going to ever transition to the positive vibes that this post game needed. So maybe this can also help. This is from the fine folks over at HBO.
To me. Fuck Boston. 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 We're not going to lose this fucking game. Get out there and kick their ass.
Boom.
Love it.
Shout out to the New York Knicks, who are up 3-1 in the series. I was doing a lot of post-game work to get things ready with Fanatic Sportsbook. So I missed. Did you guys say what the Knicks' offensive rating was in the second half?
DJ did, I think.
152.2. Holy shit. That'll play. I'll say that'll play. Shout out to Mike Breen. You got to be on the call for one of the biggest Knicks games in the last 25 years.
Friend of the pod, Mike Breen. Friend of the pod, Richard Jefferson. Then the other one.
Oh, yeah. Shout out to Ben Stiller. There's video of him dancing with Knicks fans. Timothy Chalamet, you are one of us, sir. We saw you wearing their heart on the sleeves with what was sitting next to you, and you still paid attention to basketball, sir. Shout out to the New York Knicks, who have put themselves, they earned this one. Go to the Knicks Film School merch store. Fuck them picks forever and ever. Shout out Mikal Bridges. You have earned your pinstripes. And DJ, shout out to you. You just said, if you told me a month ago that the Knicks would be up 3-1. DJ, if you told me a week ago that the Knicks would be up 3-1 on the Boston Celtics, I would have called you crazy. DJ, if you told me 3 hours ago,
I was about to say,
on the Boston Celtics, I
thought they were going to lose a
crazy.
heartbreaker tonight. And that, sorry, I should have.
Go ahead. No, go ahead. I'm getting
with every Tatum dagger, and they all felt like daggers. With every Tatum dagger, I went back to my pregame frame. I thought game 3 they were going to. It was not. I just didn't have a good feeling about game 3 tonight. I thought it'd be a close game, and I had in my feeling in my gut that they were going to lose a close game. And every time Tatum hit one of those shots, I'm like, oh shit, it's fucking happening.
Well, speaking of Jason Tatum, you mentioned it, and shout out to our friends at Fanatic Sportsbook as we get into some of our segments for tonight.
Yep.
Would you like to know the odds for the rest of? How about this? The Eastern Conference, John.
The Knicks to win the East are probably right now.
As of right now, according to our friends at Fanatic Sportsbook.
+1. 60.
Plus 125. They are currently the favorites to win the Eastern Conference, ahead of the Indiana Pacers, who are plus 200, the Cleveland Cavaliers, who are plus 450, and the Boston Celtics, who are plus 750. Adding into it, Knicks in 5. I mean, look, if you bet it before the series, then you have done yourself justice.
Do we have to? No, I don't.
I'm just reading odds, John. Don't worry, they're locked. I can't even look at them. I was just looking at it. Okay, John's uncomfortable. Shout out to the sponsor, who hopefully that's what the money is for, to get over that discomfort. Having said all of that, shout out to the fine folks over at Fanatic Sportsbook. As I said, the Knicks are currently the favorites to win the Eastern Conference. I'm just going to throw out there that they have the second best odds to win the NBA championship as well, at plus 600. Shout out to the fine folks over at Fanatic Sportsbook. For those on the podcast audience, both John and DJ have the appropriate look of shock that this is the reality that we have now entered ourselves into.